Kristen.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this is Looking for the Middle, a very special edition of CouchCast. We are coming to you not live from, where are we?
The Quality Inn and Suites in
Stafford,
Virginia.
Super random. We have been in the car for 12 hours today, and it has been a very long day. Lindsay has driven this entire trip, and she's just been a champ.
We've driven almost, actually I think we hit the 2,100 mile mark since we left home almost 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been a great trip. So if you're new here, typically Bethany and I are hosting. However, Bethany did a really great episode that came out 2 days ago with her sister Melanie.
Go check it out.
It's great. And then, because I'm out of town, obviously, me and Lindsay are recording this CouchCast. It's just a fun little surprise. So you get two co-hosts, or two new co-hosts, I guess, in 1 week. So we're just going to kind of catch you up on what we've been doing the past week and a half, but we also have a question for the CouchCast, like we normally do. But just to give you a little context, Lindsay and I planned a 2-week road trip all the way up the East Coast and all the way back down. So all the way from Atlanta to Portland, Maine, and then now we're on our trek back. It's been so fun. It
has. It's been very interesting to see parts of the world that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
we talked before we left, and I think, what did I say? Tennessee was the furthest north I've ever been in my 30 years of life. So it's just been really cool to see things that I've always wanted to see but never taken the time to actually go see.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun.
It's been great. We went to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Rhode Island. We went to a couple different places in Massachusetts. And then we went to Maine. And then now we're headed to North Carolina tomorrow. And then we'll head back.
Why are we heading to North Carolina tomorrow, Kristen?
Because we are going to do a self-guided film location tour for One Tree Hill. If you have listened to any of these episodes, you know how much of a One Tree Hill fan I am. But Lindsay's one of the people that got me on One Tree Hill. So it's very important that we do this. It's a big point.
And this was our
friendship.
last stop that we added on.
Yes.
We weren't going to, I don't know what we were going to do when we left.
We were just going to come home.
Were we? Okay.
Yeah.
And then we extended our trip by 2 days
just
to make it a full 2 weeks.
Yes. It's going to be so great. But what's been just to give the people a picture of what we've been doing, what's been your favorite thing you've seen or done or eaten?
The hot dogs we ate yesterday, surprisingly, were my favorite thing.
Okay.
Was that yesterday to eat?
Yeah.
I've lost all concept of time and what day it is. My favorite thing, though, was the lighthouse we saw in Maine yesterday. My grandfather, as you know, but everyone else does not, is an artist. And I think before I was even born, he drew a picture of the Nubble, is that right?
Yeah,
the Nubble Lighthouse in just south of Portland, actually. And it's been my favorite art piece of his for my whole life. And just to be able to see it in person was, I don't want to say a dream come true, but
it was a bucket
it's kind of like,
thing.
I checked off my bucket list. But then also, I told you while we were in D.C., seeing the Washington Monument for whatever reason has been on my bucket list also for pretty much since high school, I guess. So seeing that, especially the view from the Lincoln Memorial out to the, what's it called?
The reflecting
pond,
something.
Out to the Washington Monument was a pretty spectacular sight to see.
That's true. I think the lighthouse was probably my favorite too. It was so
I had to drag
pretty.
Kristen off from the lighthouse.
Gosh, I could have sat there forever. It was so pretty. Also,
the problem was it was cold.
Yeah, it's like 45
degrees, I think, and windy.
And y'all know, if any of y'all live in Georgia, you know it's like 85 right now. So it was a far
Side
cry.
note, we definitely had a praise the Lord moment when we got back into Southern Territory and the temperature gauge. Temperature gauge in the car said 70 degrees.
Oh my gosh, it was the greatest thing ever. Also, Lindsay's getting over a cold, so
any single men listening, I don't really sound like this, so don't let that deter you.
We keep calling it her sexy Phoebe voice, from Friends.
My car singing has definitely been kept Kristen entertained.
Oh, for sure.
While we've been driving.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we talk a lot around here about living your life while you're single and doing fun things and taking opportunities that may be available to you now that may not be in the future. And so for me and Lindsay, this was one of those things that we wanted to do. We've been planning this trip for a year now.
Probably.
Probably close to a year. So we were taking our own advice in a sense. But we were talking a few days ago. We were trying to prep for recording this and trying to figure out, what we wanted to talk about. And the question came up, what's holding you back from living your life? If we're saying, like, if you want to go do all these things and plan all this fun stuff and take opportunities, what are some things that could hold you back as a single girl? And so Lindsay and I kind of talked and forth about that. So Lindsay, I'd love for you to start because you've had great answers. But what were some things, even as, like, before we started planning this trip, if you started second guessing the trip at all, what were some things that kind of made you pause?
I think probably the main thing that kind of made me pause was really just fear of doing this because, like I said earlier, I've probably never been further north in Tennessee, and that's always been with my family. So kind of doing this on my own and I love my family, but getting away from my family and doing something like this has always been a little daunting, I guess. I mean, like, when I sit and think about it, I mean, like, we've driven all the way from Atlanta to Maine. And it's just kind of, so that was a big thing that I've never done.
Well, it's just puts you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I've been out of my comfort zone, but I've kind of expanded my comfort zone, I guess, because my driving skills have greatly improved because anyone that's been north knows the drivers are a little crazy. Kristen's put a dent in my floorboard from trying to help me brake. So is that enough for that point?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
That's great. No, I think that's good. And I honestly think, too, it is this sense of, maybe this is just a girl thing, too, but it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going out by ourselves and we're, going to all these places we've never been to before that we're not comfortable with. But
it was also, I found it interesting because I just said I was somewhat fearful, quote unquote, of doing this, but how calm I have been, how not nervous I've been we've been staying in these Airbnbs with people that, not in the same apartments, but we've been staying in apartment buildings and, places attached to other people's house. And it's interesting or kind of cool that I've been as little nervous as I have. Yeah. Granted, we did carry a baseball bat around with us in and out of every Airbnb that we've been to so far.
Just a security thing. It's fine.
But even not having that security of a weapon or whatever, just kind of calm I've been. And,
really calm.
And I think that comes from knowing that God's going to protect you wherever you go and whatever you do. So that's pretty cool. I was, like I said, I was a lot less nervous from place to place than I thought I would be.
Yeah. She's been like the rock. I've been the anxious one. As I'm freaking out about low-flying planes and traffic. Another thing that you and I talked about with this is there's always kind of this hope that, like, oh, these are the things that I want to do with my husband or with my fiance or boyfriend or whoever he is. And so there's this hesitation in a sense to, well, I could do it now, but I'd rather do it with him. But one, as we've talked about, we're not guaranteed marriage. But also, I don't think we should put our lives on pause until we get married. But I think it's tempting to do that sometimes.
Oh, I think that's exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, I turned 30 this year, so it was a cool milestone to hit, but also growing up, I thought I would be married with a couple kids by now, so to not, looking back, obviously I wouldn't change anything, but I think I've always just kind of put it off because traveling just seemed like something that you would do with a husband or with a family that you've had, so just to be able to, go out and do it on my own is pretty cool. I'm glad we did this. In a way, I'm glad that we took this trip before we got married because while it would have been great to have husbands on the trip, it's been cool just me and you. So
I agree. It's been so fun. Okay, so if those are a couple things, whether it's getting out of your comfort zone or I guess the fear that comes from getting out of your comfort zone or just wanting to wait until you're married, like those are the things that could hold you back. Let's talk about real quick just a couple of the steps we've taken to kind of move past that fear or that hesitation in hopes that we can encourage some of you people out there that are maybe hesitating a little bit but wanting to do something really cool and live your life, as we say it. So the first thing we talked about is just to start small. And that may look like, for us, it looked like we've been taking day trips or weekend trips for a few years now and made that a habit. And so it wasn't just like we went from never leaving our hometown to going to the top corner of the country. But you kind of get in this habit of you're doing things with your friends and you're planning little things here and there, and then it becomes easier and you kind of continue to grow, like you said, expand your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my comfort zone was probably South Carolina and closer. Yeah. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And then another thing, and you brought this up, is just having friends to kind of hold you accountable or like keep you
I think,
moving towards whatever you want to do.
That is one thing that kind of resonated with me, I guess, when we were getting closer and closer to this trip, is we kept saying to each other, I can't believe this is actually happening. I can't believe it's a week away. I can't believe we're leaving in 2 days. So just because and this is not the correct way to go through life, but when we do things like this, I'm like, oh, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Or
basically you're saying you can just get skeptical sometimes. So it helps if you're doing it with somebody that y'all are kind of like, like if you were freaking out about it, I'd be like, no, we're going to do this. And then when I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have enough pepper spray? And like, what's going to happen when we get here and all this stuff? And you're like, no, Chris, it's going to be great. And just having those people in your life to like do these things. Just because you may not be doing the things you want to do with a husband doesn't mean you have to do them completely alone either.
Or doesn't mean you can't do them at all.
Exactly. Like you have your friends or your family or whoever in your life that's close to you and important to you that you can go and do these things with and enjoy all of these experiences and take a step of faith or whatever that looks like for you. And you don't have to wait for your husband. And not to say you can't do all these fun things once you get married, but you shouldn't wait until then to do these things, I think is the point we're trying to make.
Yeah.
And so
don't put it off solely for the reason of not having a spouse.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. So I think that would be my encouragement. And I'm going to speak for Lindsay here. Both of our encouragement for anybody listening is start thinking now, like start making a plan now for whether that's a bucket list or whether it's 5 things you want to do before you turn 30 or 35 or 40 or whatever it is. And start kind of figuring out a plan of what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to spend my time? What do I want to accomplish? What opportunities do I want to take? Who do I want with me? And go ahead and start pursuing that because there's no need to wait for a guy to live your life.
Once you make a plan, just do it.
Yeah, and that's really what we said when we were talking about, like, how do you move past it? You just do.
Get your advice from Nike and just do it.
Exactly. So we hope that you guys will take this and maybe it'll be a little boost of confidence as you're trying to figure out what you want to do and what chance you want to take next. We highly recommend traveling, specifically to Portland, Maine, or anywhere else you want to go. But it's been fun, and we're really grateful we got this opportunity to.
Yep. It's been a great trip, but we both today have said we miss home and we miss our own beds.
I miss my closet. That's such a girly thing.
Living out of a suitcase it's fun, but it gets old.
It gets old after a while.
We're ready to be home. We got to go see Nathan Scott and then head home back to Georgia.
Yes. So be sure and tune back in next week, where we'll have another full episode on Wednesday and then another CouchCast on Friday. Thanks, Lindsay, for being here.
You're welcome.
This was so fun.
Hopefully you'll have me on again sometime.
Oh, I'm sure we will. All the sisters are getting invited, so it's going to be great. But until next time, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this is Looking for the Middle.